with a pumpkin or something.
Okay, now we are preparing to go live. Our title is Sharing Our Painting. Are we live?
I'm going to go ahead and share it with my phone on Facebook, just so I don't have that echoey sound in the background.
Okay, good.
Because I found, like, if you share something on a second device, it's better, in my opinion. Like, just to anybody that's a YouTuber and they're doing live streams or any kind of live stream, like, share on your second, like, get a second device and just share there, because then you don't have that issue, you see.
Very good idea. So, before I get working on today's painting, I thought I would show you this morning's painting.
I would love to see it.
This is a coffee painting, and it took me 14 minutes to paint that.
That is really cool. I love the texture and like the cheekbone and the hair. It's really cool.
What happened was my coffee, that I kept for a while, it evaporated so much that there was almost no water in it. Almost.
Oh.
I can show you the container, what it looks like.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so how do you do that? Do you take your coffee grounds in water, or do you take instant coffee? How are you creating it? That's what I want to know.
Well, I just use a coffee maker, a normal one that costs $8.
Yeah.
At Walmart. And I drink my coffee. Most of it I drink. I don't use it for painting. I just drink it.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, I make more than I want to drink.
Okay.
So I just put it in this container, and then I don't paint with it right away.
Mm-hmm.
I let it sit a few days.
Oh, okay. That's where I made a mistake, because I was using liquid coffee that was kind of fresh, I think. Okay. And mine was kind of runny.
After some of the water evaporates, it's a lot easier to paint with that. But of course, when I started, like when I did this one, I started out, like maybe 2 or 3 days after I made the coffee. And then I had, oh, bless you. And then I had to do it, I had to go over it again, because it starts out, it's too light. And
that's either you or Sword, right?
Yeah, that's Sword when she was little. It's kind of a caricature.
It looks like her, though. It either looked like you or her. I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's from a photograph of her. I have all these old photographs, and some of them are not something I even would want to post in a photo album. They're just what they are, snapshots.
That's cool. It turned out really good, though.
Yeah. So anyway, this one, I had to come back. It started out really light, and I came back a few days later when the coffee was even more evaporated, and I finished it off. But this one, the one that I did today, and if it's too light, it looks kind of like this. You can hardly see it. So that's why you have to wait till it evaporates. But the one that I did today, if I can find it again, it was over a week, and I hadn't touched that coffee. And so I was able to finish the painting in 14 minutes because it was strong enough. The staining was strong enough.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. That's kind of cool. I like it. I mean, I think it's really interesting, the whole idea of coffee painting. I like it, actually.
Well, thank you.
I mean, because, well, think about it this way. Like, people say, I need to go, like, get all these, like, expensive supplies. But I think what it shows is that you can paint with pretty much any medium. You just need to actually put in the time to do it.
That's true. And actually, because this is a monochrome, it just takes a lot less time to finish the painting.
That's true. And it's kind of like, instead of an ink sketch, to be honest with you, I kind of like this better than the ink sketch because it has the painting feel to it, which is more
Right.
fluid. And I like that. And to be honest with you, I was never the biggest fan of, like, I know everybody's like Inktober, this and that. It just feels kind of harsh sometimes. Whereas I like this, it has like that softer painting feel to it. So I kind of like it.
Yeah. And I do use brushes for it, not pens.
Yeah. And I like that. So it's cool. So if you want to paint and you want to do something monochromatic, this is an option.
Right. I'm going to try to prop this up here.
Okay.
And did you want to go ahead and share some of your paintings from over the years?
Yeah, I'll share some stuff. So like I started putting some stuff up again, but I'm just gonna kind of take it down and then I'll put it back. So this is my I actually really like this painting a lot. It's an oil painting that I did of a dog, Buster. What kind of a dog do you think he is?
Is he a mixed breed?
Yeah, he's a mixed breed, but like what type does he kind of look like?
Oh, okay. Well, I think there's a little bit of German Shepherd in him. Is there?
We weren't sure. We thought he was pit bull and just Siberian Husky, but he could have some German Shepherd. It may just be the way I painted him, but that's how he looked. He did have kind of German Shepherd markings, but he looked like a little pit bull.
Oh,
people
okay.
hated him because he was like a pit bull and he can't control what breed he is. Like,
no, of course not.
But yeah, our neighbors, like, I loved him. He was a nice dog, but he didn't even bark. And the other dog that was the lab was the one barking, but people would always scream at him and said he was the one barking and it wasn't him. Like, he didn't even bark. He was a very quiet dog. And he was just a nice little dog. He had short little legs, so he couldn't run up hills. And I just really liked him. I mean, it was like, I love dogs. Okay, don't get me wrong, but just because of all the experiences as a kid with people being so rude about, oh, your dog barked at night, and it gave me a lot of anxiety. Like, if I could live somewhere where people were cool and you could just have a dog and I want to be like, oh my gosh, did the dog bark? Then, I probably would have a dog. But after that, I love dogs, but I'd rather pet other people's dogs and not feel responsible for if they're going to emit noise at the wrong time or something.
I understand, but I think that's just a problem of living around too many people. And maybe if you live in a city, it really is hard to have a dog.
But it was weird too. It kind of became that way in the mountains, and there were fewer people, but because the noises would carry through, the people were just strange. But I love that dog. He was a good dog. That was just one of the memories that I had of having a dog. Like, I loved him, don't get me wrong. I just haven't had a dog since that time. But I wanted to do something, so I painted him to like commemorate him, actually. So let me see. I have many other paintings. I tend to do more color pencil than paint, but I do have other paintings, and I guess I'll start with showing paintings that I have. So I'll go get another one.
Okay, I'm going to start in on my painting while
go ahead. Yeah.
So I mixed up some brown, which is what I always do, to start a painting, and I'm going to be trying to paint my father because this is the anniversary of his death. It's been 21 years since he died. Oh,
this is Irena, the one.
Oh, yes, Irena. Beautiful, beautiful black cat.
Yeah, so it was an oil painting. I actually turned this one into a shirt, and I get a lot of people like my art shirts, but I don't seem to sell them. But when I'm wearing them lately, I'm getting more feedback than I did years ago when I first started wearing them. But yeah, maybe because the pandemic's over, I'm seeing more people. But I just thought this was cool, and I gave her like a San Bernardino Mountains background, although she never went rock climbing or anything. It was kind of an imagined scene, like if she ran outside and was sitting in the rocks. So it just was kind of cool. And I always have like things that have like a mountain theme, kind of. But your dad, is he going to be flying a plane or something? What are you going to have him? Or just more
I'm just gonna do his face. That's all.
Okay.
When he was younger, I'm looking at a picture of him at his wedding to my mother, but at this time I'm just gonna focus on him.
Now there is a video with him where they did an interview with him. Where was that?
That was Alabama, where he was a professor of aerospace engineering.
That's interesting. That's really neat. So how did he get into that field, Aya?
Well, he was always interested in airplanes. Before that, he was a physicist,
Wow.
But he wanted to do something useful. He felt that, physics was too, you go on talking. I'm going to paint now.
Okay, I'll just let you paint. So anyway, I'll just keep sharing some things. Some things are really older ones that, okay, so this one, like, it was just a painting of an owl, but it was like just something I saw in a calendar once. So I kind of just emulated, oh, well, somebody kind of drew on it, but I didn't do that. But it kind of got, I think I need to fix that, honestly, but I don't know, like somebody thought it'd be funny to draw on it, and I forgot about that. But I mean, you can't really tell until like I can see it, but maybe you can't see. I don't know. Maybe not, but it's an owl. That's one. And then I'll bring some other stuff.
Okay. I sometimes have trouble, telling a long story when I'm painting because
No, please just keep painting. I'll keep talking. I'll talk. Okay, so here's another one. This is Irena the Cat. It's an oil painting. I did this one in 2014. This was back when my dad thought, like the canvas boards are so cool because we were kind of like, okay, I had just canvases before I got into the canvas board craze, and I used up my canvases. But I still have some canvases, but we just kind of decided we thought canvas boards were really cool because they're flat. And also too, I went to Lowe's last night because this is my plan. I'm going to put the Velcro things on the back of them so you can just put them on the wall.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's actually great because I'm so sick of like doing the nail and the thing. And this, it doesn't really damage the back of the, you can do it with the canvases too, but they hold up to 12 to 16 pounds depending on the kind. So I had good luck with them before, and I used to use that one. Except that one just fell off the wall. I'm gonna have to fix that, but whatever. I'll fix it in a second. It's not that important right now.
Okay.
It needs a fresh one. It had an old thing on it. I was trying to stick it back. So they work one time. You can't use them again. Once you detach them from the wall, they're no longer good. So I was trying to make that one work. So no surprise it didn't. So anyway, I have another one. This is actually like kind of a big one. Like it's pretty big. It's bigger than me.
Oh. Yeah.
So I did this during the A to Z.
I was saying it's a landscape this time.
Yeah, it's a landscape. So I did a few landscapes, and this one was out at the Pinnacles, and I really liked this one. I thought it was fun. But during the A to Z challenge, I just wanted to share my art. And some people were like, well, those are the unusual colors. Why did you pick those colors? And I'm like, well, I've taken a few art classes, but I paint for fun, and I didn't want to do muted colors. So sometimes I did vibrant colors, and I don't know. I just really liked it. It was a lot of fun.
I love vibrant colors. Why not?
Well, because like now I think like, okay, this is my impression. Like now I'm meeting more people that are into like many different kinds of art. And I see local artists who use vibrant colors, but it seemed like at that time in that group, like I don't want to be negative, but they thought, oh, we are like the master artists. Like it's kind of like some of those Facebook groups. We use muted colors. How dare you not paint in muted colors? and that's kind of what it was. I was just like, oh, I like what's like your dad's face. It's really cool. It's coming out really nice. Yeah, I like it. So they're all into like, we need to be muted. How dare you use anything that's not muted? It's weird. Like, like the whole thing about it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. I paint very brightly. I use very bold colors. I mix to some degree, but I don't always mix. Sometimes it's like a primary color with a little bit more added. This one is like a sunset thing, which has been a big theme in my life. Actually, I used to love to paint tropical sunsets, and I've done variations. I've done oil pastel variation. I've done oil paint. So this one is like the silhouette of the palm trees. It's kind of based. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said I love it.
Oh, thank you. So I actually did do a hub on this one called Painting a Picture for Your Mother. I kept it myself, but it was just an idea of like how you could paint like a Valentine's Day picture. So it's not that I didn't want to give these paintings to my mother, but every time I would try and give one to her, she'd be like, that's pretty, but I don't really have space for it. Why don't you keep it? And I tried with some other family members and they'd be like, yeah, it's pretty, but you know, I don't really have space. Why don't you keep it? And that actually happened to my grandma. She was actually a really good painter. She painted beautiful pictures, and I guess she gave it to my aunt. And she was kind of offended because when she went to her house, they were like stored in the basement or something. So I mean, okay, my grandma, she was an amazing painter. She painted this beautiful picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. Like she said that she spent months getting it was beautiful. And I'm like, you know, I was really surprised. I'm like, she's a really good painter. And it turns out, I think my aunt, actually my great aunt, she was a professional artist. Her name's, Martha, like she's retired now, but you know, my dad was telling me that drawing book that I really like, that was a college level drawing book that he had as a kid. She gave that to him. So she painted professionally. Yeah, her name's Martha Wilson. Like you can maybe find her on Google. I've seen some of her stuff. I don't have any of her paintings, but yes, she's very, very good.
Well, maybe we could share some of her paintings if you can find them on Google.
I'll have to look and see, but I haven't really like started to look. And I just want to make sure that's actually her painting. Like I'd actually need to kind of ask her. And she's on Facebook, but I don't think she uses it that much. So here's another one. Just this painting. This was back before. Okay, I used to just find pictures in a magazine or a book and paint them. And that's still a cool way to paint. But I kind of got into more recent paintings. I do like pictures of my cats and stuff, or an animal that's mine. Like that's just kind of how my painting evolved. But this one, I think, was just a cat in a book, and I really liked it. I love cats. So I painted the picture of the cat, but I also used to love to paint flowers and floral things and grass. So I had a picture of the cat sitting next to an iris, which was actually my mom's iris, and grass. And I painted this back in 2007, this one. This was beautiful. Yeah, so this was a fun one, and I liked it. It was kind of cool. And then what else? I have like a lot of, like maybe not as prolific as some people, but I have a few. Okay, here's another one. This one I actually ended up doing a lot more quickly. Like usually it takes me a long time to paint something, but this one I did in like 3 hours. I don't know how I did this one so quickly. Like it just kind of came together. It's like a view of the Rim of the World Highway with a view of Mount San Gorgonio. So that's like a view from the San Bernardino Mountains. It's like based on a photograph that I took at a lookout point. And yes, the colors are vibrant. I love vibrant color, but yeah, that's like when you look down, like at the 5,300 foot level, kind of looking down. So I don't know, it just was kind of a fun landscape. So I used to, yes, do more landscapes at one time.
Well, those are really hard to do, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of tricky because I think I did draw it out a little bit more first, but the painting part I actually did faster than I thought. And this is back when I was painting outside more. Like I actually had some videos of it at the time, or just more blogs. I think I might have posted, I'm not sure on Pub Wages about this one or not, but I posted a couple things there, maybe not this one. So
I love to see how you paint outside.
Yeah, I used to do that, but I started painting inside after a while because I just got really messy, and there was like a black widow spider out there, and there was all sorts of issues. So I stopped painting outside as much. Now, I don't think I have as many paintings as you have because I tend to do more colored pencils, but I'll show another one I do have. I have some that are like way down underneath my bed, but they're more like water paintings from a class that I did and leftovers. But That's like way down there. I'm not sure if I'm going to get that out today. But this one is another landscape because I do a lot of tropical themed landscapes back in the day. That was my obsession. I think I painted this 2002 to 2003. It was a while back. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but the story about it was I saw this blank canvas in my dad's house, and I was living there for a while, and I was like, why is the canvas blank? He goes, well, I don't know. I just got it on a job or something. And I'm like, well, I'm going to paint it. So I did. Because it's not like anybody at my house is going to paint. Like, so I had painted a little bit back then, but this was actually like the first canvas I ever painted, because back before that, I just painted on paper, like for the classes. I just had like the paper, and I probably should get out like my portfolio. I do have some cool things I did in high school, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I'd have to dig to get some of that stuff out. So maybe another time, maybe.
Okay.
But maybe I will. I'll see. Oh, wow. But your dad's looking really good, I have to say. I do really like his. It's coming along, Aya. It's looking nice. Let me see. What could I share that's easier to find? I'm just kind of looking around because a lot of my stuff isn't necessarily painting. Well, I have like, I'll just share some of the other stuff. It's not all painting. Some of it is. I think one of them is, but there's a lot. Thanks. Some of it got broken too. I have to fix some of it. Like, I'm just kind of looking through because I had these picture frames and I think just being packed up. So I used to go to like Walmart or the Dollar Tree and buy picture frames. I didn't buy the most expensive ones. I just bought frames that were like, you know, the budget ones. So yeah, I'm not surprised it broke. It was stacked up. But this one is just colored pencil, and it's a backside of the view of Mount Baldy, not Mount Baldy, but just I think looking down towards Hesperia. But I am actually kind of happy because usually the Prismacolor one's faded, and this one was done in 2013, and it doesn't look like it faded too much. So it's actually remained.
The glass protected it, perhaps?
Maybe, but here's the other ones that I had like that were actually hanging in my house. Unless the technique had changed, it just felt like they faded. Now this one, I'm not saying that it faded 100%. It's actually the shirt that I have, but I just feel like the sky part is starting to fade a little. Like I remember it being more vibrant.
It's still quite vibrant, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's still good. I think what it was that was really bad with some of them was when I lived in that other apartment, it had a lot of sunlight. So I don't know if the sunlight was just bleaching the colors out. I probably needed to spray them with that protective spray like you do. I think that could be it too.
The varnish, yeah.
Yeah, the varnish. Yeah, I didn't do that. I just kind of framed them. I need to get some new frames for a lot of them, actually. This is kind of live me going through the boxes. Like I literally, like in real time, I'm taking things out of the boxes that I haven't seen in years. I do need to get a new frame for this guy because I think something else was in this one. It's another document. Like my dad's like, why do you have so many document frames? I'm like, well, you can get one at Walmart for like $4 or $5. So I used to buy, but I need to buy one that's more the size of this. It ended up being rectangular shape because I started drawing this at work one day, and then I transferred it onto a different paper, and it's a cat that's elongated. I saw this like stray cat that was just sitting by our house. Okay. So, but I wanted him to have another theme. So I decided he was at Joshua Tree.
Oh, okay.
So I put my cats in different places.
That's nice. I like that.
And then my other cat, he was also in the San Bernardino Mountains. I don't think a cat's going to go on a hike, but I make them go places. And sometimes I stick flowers in there, and it's just kind of random. I'm trying to get to the painting. I have another painting at the bottom of this box. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not even sure. Maybe you haven't seen all this, have you? I don't think I've shown all this, have I?
No, I haven't seen all of it. I think I saw some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I posted some things, but I'm starting to realize there were actually drawings I did that I never posted, that I thought I posted, but I don't know, maybe I didn't post them. So this one is kind of, it's different. It's Irena, and I'm going to show you, like, it's just funny, like her angle. Like, I don't know why her angle's like that. It's based on this photograph I took of her as a baby. So it's so dark. I was trying to emulate the angle. It kind of ended up being kind of funny, but it sort of works in an unusual kind of way. So this one, I kind of think I should have turned into a shirt, and I never did. And I'm thinking I could, because it has like a Halloween theme to it unexpectedly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been decorating outside for Halloween, even though I'm out in the country and nobody comes trick-or-treating here.
Well, I think this year I'm going to get some candy. I hadn't got candy in the last few years, but I think I just want to, just because there's more kids living here. So I might this year. So yeah, this one is just kind of funny because I put a moon in the background, so it's like a cat, like a enchanted cat. This thing came to me, so I just created it. So yep. That's what I do. Thanks. And then I have some other ones too. Like I'm telling you, I did a lot of color. And when I do the color pencil one, I spend a lot of time on it. It takes me a while to get it like that. Like some people are really quick, but I just I'm not the quickest drawer or painter, but I do actually have a painting. And I decided to frame this particular one because I don't know. It was one of those canvas ones, like the flat board, but my thought was at one time I wanted to get frames for all of them. And I'm not saying I won't, maybe someday I will, but this one I ended up framing. It has yarn stuck to it. And it's just of the mountains. I don't know if it's up in the mountains, and it's Mount Baldy. It's an oil painting again with lots of trees.
I don't even know how to do oil paintings. I think I'm intimidated by the process. So it's great that you know how.
Well, I'm self-taught. Like I never took a class on oil painting. I just started doing it one day, and I think a lot of the rules I do might break the rules. Like some people say don't mix it with oil, but okay. Sometimes I mixed it with another oil medium that would be like baby oil or other oil, and they say that's going to break down over time. But I don't know. That one painting I have is from 2002, and the colors are still there. It didn't break down over time like they said it would. So
yeah.
Later on, I got a little bit more serious about it, and I did buy that linseed oil, like extender out thing, but that's more expensive. So I can kind of see why somebody would. And actually, the one painting I have over here, I used like some sort of rose hair oil from Spain that I found at Food for Less to like mix the paints. And I'm going to show you this one. I think it turned out okay, and it hasn't broken down. And here's another one. I did it actually pretty long ago. I don't think I've showed you this one yet. So this one was based on a cat that we had. He was a gray cat, and he kind of maybe was a Russian blue, maybe partial. I don't know. But his name was Coco, and then I just painted some flowers behind him. But yeah, this one was with oil paint, and I think I used another medium to kind of spread out the paint, and the paint hasn't broken down.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it turned out pretty good. And it's from 2007, so it's still intact. So that tells me some of the things they say, like, oh, that's going to break down. You can't do that. Well, I don't know. I did it, and it worked. So maybe they were wrong. So that's another thing too. I just paint for fun. Like I learned how to paint on my own. I took a couple painting classes and they were really bad, like in college. This guy supposedly he was a trained artist, but all he would do, it was called painting with the masters. He would get out a piece of paper. He'd be like, okay, this is my rendition of like Monet or something. And you guys have 2 hours to paint it. And I'm going to leave now. And he'd walk away. So that was one. And then another one, he's like, I don't have any teaching experience, blah, blah, blah. In 1968, I got my master's in painting. They mailed me my credential, and here I am. I'm here to teach painting. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he'd be taking his class. And one day I accidentally left my watch in the class, okay? And I came back to get it because and he goes, I was going to pawn your watch. I was like, oh, that's funny. He goes, no, seriously, I was going to pawn the watch. I don't have a lot of money. I'm an art teacher. I could have made some money off that.
That's very odd.
It was odd. And he was a chain smoker. And then at lunch, like if you wanted to stay and paint, you could stay and paint. And he'd be eating an orange and he'd be like, why are you only eating orange? He goes, I'm a starving artist. This is all I can afford on my salary. And I'm like, you're not that hard up. He just was so, like, he wasn't even that good. Like, it was weird. Like, I don't know. So I'm like, if this is what the art department is like at my university, I don't want to take any more painting classes. Although some people did, they kept doing it and they said, oh, it was kind of fun because they could just paint what they wanted later on and they liked it. But I was turned off by the painting classes in college. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I never took painting in college. So I only took painting when I was studying at home.
I had a high school teacher for 2 years. She was actually really good. She actually had won some awards. She had a more advanced degree in art than these painting teachers at my university. And she sold paintings. I think she actually made money. Her husband was a professional artist too. And they were somewhat successful. I'm not saying they were the most famous artists in the world, but they were successful in art. She had more of a passion for art. She took us on a museum to the LA County Art Museum. Like, she did more as a high school art teacher than these guys did in a college course. So I was just like, that's kind of sad. Like, there are people that are more talented than you and you don't even try. You just sit here talking about pawning watches and eating your orange. But like, that was my college art experience.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had such a bad experience. You know,
it was kind of funny though, because one day me and this other girl, like, we were picking up our paintings because he's like, I look at it, it's subjective. I grade it as is. Whatever my mood is, that's what it gets. And we saw this one painting. It was really good. And this girl's like, why did this get a B minus? Like, she goes, this is so good. She goes, this guy is garbage. Like, not to be rude or anything. She goes, he just doesn't have any like integrity. Like, so I don't know. I don't think anybody took that class seriously because of his attitude. But get this, like, he's on the art faculty. So why would you want to major in that? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's just my view on it. But, you know, anyway, those were my art experiences. So I just decided I wanted to paint and draw on my own because I tried to take a few courses. And if I was going to keep doing that, I didn't see, like, I wasn't enjoying the content. Like, what I found out is, like, later on, if you pursued a higher degree in painting or drawing, like, yes, you had more autonomous projects, but I didn't think, like, this was my thing. I enjoy it, but I don't claim to be a master artist. So unless you're going to do it professionally, I just didn't see the point of pursuing that degree. Anyway, here's the picture. You've probably seen this one of Irena, I think. It's one of my more prominent ones I post.
I think I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that one I post a lot. So that one was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just trying to think of what else. I have other things in here. So, like, this one, it kind of became off frame, but it's actually just like, I used to sometimes do like miniature colored pencil drawings. It might be kind of hard to see it, but it's like of the pinnacles, and this man built like a little barn down in the valley, and I just drew it in the drawing. It's hard to tell though because it's so dark, I think.
Yeah, I think that maybe the reflections are making it hard for me to see it.
Yeah, I wish I could find a way to make it less reflective, but that one I don't think I can. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll look at it some other time.
It's actually, it is on my YouTube channel. Like, if anybody were to look at it, old drawings I did, a lot of them are there. Like, I did post a lot of these things.
That's good. You have a history of your art, and it's good to have it documented.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, my art journey began because I thought, okay, I enjoy art. I think I'm normally good at it. I do have some talent. I don't claim to be the world's most talented artist, but actually recently people have been liking my art shirts. So this is what I want to do with my art. I really want to sell art shirts, but ones that I like, ones that speak to me. that's what I'm going to do. So I want to keep working on that. That's my whole thing. So my art journey is just about creating art that I like. And if I would like to share it, and also it does have a theme, is like the California mountains. And I think a lot of my thoughts were like, people have this stereotypical view of what California is, but I always like took offense to that. I'm like, why do they get to decide what California life is? So I just said, I want to create art that shows a different side of California. Not everybody has the same experience. Not everybody lives in LA. So that was kind of the point. Like, I just want to do like cute landscapes or flowers. That was more, I think I did a lot of landscapes actually over the years. It doesn't seem like it, but I actually have. So this is another one in the desert. It is very reflective once again, but it's just colored pencil. It faded a little bit, but this one I don't entirely hate because the fading kind of works. And I don't know. It's like a desert landscape. This one is interesting. Like, it's just a fun one that I did. It's weird though, because it's like the mountains actually started fading on this one. I don't know why. I didn't like rub it away like that, but they faded in the background a little bit.
Oh.
I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the paper touching it. Like, that's the only thing about colored pencil. Like, the flower's still vibrant.
I love the flower. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I did a dream catcher just because I thought, okay, I don't necessarily believe that dream catchers catch your dreams, but I just thought something like I would kind of just do eclectic designs. Sometimes like I would put different elements together. So there was just something about a dream catcher catching the dreams of this flower with the mountains, and those were just really prominent themes. Like, I don't think about the mountains as much anymore. Like, I used to think about the mountains a lot up until like maybe 5 years ago, but I don't go up there as much anymore. I think maybe that's why I think less about the mountains these days, but I used to, and my art documents that. And that's why my art channel was called California Art and Mountain Life, because I used to think about the mountains a lot. And I'll show you some other stuff I have. Some of it is just older, but it also proves a point that all the things they said that weren't going to last and work do last. Everything that people told me would never last does last. So here is an example. This I created in 1998. It's a little reflective, so it's hard to see. Oh. And it's oil pastel, and I use Mod Podge.
How did you use Mod Podge? Explain that.
To seal it, I used the Mod Podge to seal it. Oh, but okay. To create it, I took oil pastel and I took baby oil. And I mixed it, and it's lasted. Oh, wow, your painting's coming along really nice, Aya.
Thank you. As a painting, it's okay, but it's not necessarily the best likeness of my father. So I'm kind of worrying about that.
I still see some there. So, this one was interesting because it was just like, okay, you know those wood burning kits? Did you ever have a pyrography kit, like wood burning?
No, I never had. Never did.
So there was one that came with a rose. Like, so I just did like the pre-made like wood burning thing, but then I painted it afterwards. So I took the wood burning, and then I thought, I like how it looks like it's kind of almost inked, but I just painted it. And I just kind of like highlighted it. So I did it. I mixed oil and acrylic. And like you're saying, that's not going to last, Julia. But I did this in 2005, and it looks like it held up. So.
Oh yeah. So it's mixed media, right?
It's very mixed media because it's pyrography. And then I took a little bit of oil and acrylic because back then I just was like, I have some paint. Let's mix it up. And yeah, it's lasted. Like, it hasn't faded. It hasn't gone away. I mean, all it did was really sit on a wall, but it's interesting. I kind of got to the point though, I'm like, I don't want to do like the designs that come with a pyrography kit. I want to make my own. I actually do have designs I made myself, and I could show you something. I think I've shown it on my channel before. So that's another thing. I used to do a lot of pyrography, like wood burning. I was really into that for a while. But it's very smelly and disgusting because it smells like a forest fire. So I don't do it too often. It smells really bad. So I wanted to do it outside because I'm like, oh, inhalation, like it smells like so horrible. And one time I was doing it around somebody and they started getting so upset because they were having like, they're not even asthmatic, but it smells really bad. So that's the only thing, like I kind of need a well-ventilated area to do it. And you can't really do it outside with a traditional. So this is something I kept. I didn't never send it away, but I have like this wooden box where I drew a tree on it. And I did wood burn trees on it.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of fun. It took a long time though, because I did, like most people just do an outline, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. I wanted to make it like a drawing, so it started getting really smelly. So,
You know what you could do if you were still into that is you could buy wooden boxes, add one of those pre-made music box things. You know, you can buy those on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And then do your own pyrography design and then sell it on Etsy or someplace like that.
That's actually really smart. And I have thought about that. Oh, I'll tell you one reason I didn't. No, it's still an option. It would take so long. And then it was kind of my time thing. Like I was like, wow, I spent so much time on this. And am I going to be compensated for the amount of time I spent? That was my concern with it. So that's why, but it's a great, the music box thing I never thought of before. That's kind of interesting. That might be a great idea.
That's always a good idea for either Valentine's Day presents or Christmas presents.
You know, my friend Jennifer, actually, I'm kind of impressed with what she's been doing with Etsy. She has a kind of successful Etsy shop where she does some of her own artwork, but also what she does is really cool. She goes to estate sales, and a lot of people would be like, oh, why would you want to go to estate sales? But she's really smart about it. Like she'll look for things that are kind of like memorabilia or collector spoons, and she'll go buy them, and then she sells them for like a mark. And she's done really well, like with her little shop. So I think she said the pandemic, it ended up she was able to do art more because they work from home now. So she said she kind of liked that. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, there is a possibility to expand your, and I know we also interviewed Jessica Carpenter. She has a pretty successful Etsy shop, does she not?
Yeah, she does. And you know what she's been doing? She's been painting coasters.
Oh,
She buys these wooden coasters, I think square rather than round, but maybe round too. And she paints her favorite flowers on them. And she sprays it with something, you know, varnish or whatever, to make sure that if you put a glass on it, it won't come off. And she sells that in her Etsy shop.
that is another thing I did. I had like it wasn't a coaster, but you could do that. Like I had those round squares, and I drew a picture of a bird, and I wood burned it on, and then I used oil colored pencils to color it in. And that was kind of neat. Oil colored pencils are interesting because they're it's like oil paint, but in a pencil form, and you can get in there. So it was just kind of cool. That was kind of fun. I did that once. Like I've done a lot of little things just on my own for fun. Like these were things I just wanted to do. And I don't think in art class you ever could have done all that, because with the art class, they're just like, you have to paint this person or this thing. And I felt like it was so limited because I'm like, what if you want to paint something else? What if do you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what it is like to be in any class. Listen, I love to write novels. I love to write poetry. But if you take a composition class, they'll tell you what to write about. So,
and I hated writing. You know, I actually did like fiction writing. I wrote like a fiction novel, but unlike other people, I decided not to publish it just because I wrote the story. I liked the story, but I wasn't really sure it was going to resonate with anybody else. And that's one thing, just like I like to create things, but I want to create something that I enjoy. So I struggled with that, but I understand like you just have to work at it. So I kind of have gone the art route, like where I want to do more arts, and I really enjoy art, but it's a time thing for me. You have to invest the time in it.
That's true.
I mean, and I'm not consistent. Like in the last 4 years, I haven't really been doing art consistently, which is a shame. I feel like my art would have got better if I kept going, but things just happen where I stopped doing art. I have some more things that I can take out. Unless, are we getting near the end? Like, I don't know how far in you are.
No, we have plenty of time, so go ahead and get those. But also check and see if we have any comments. Maybe
yeah,
somebody...
let me go look and see the comments. Let me check on that. And I also want to see what you're doing. Oh, see, I really like your drawing. It's coming along, Aya.
Thank you.
Your painting, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It really is more like a drawing, isn't it?
No, but it is a painting. I mean, painting is a form of drawing, but we're drawing with paint. It's just a different medium,
right?
So to speak, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you think about it, the most, I would say, painting is the oldest art form, and it's the most lasting because paint tends to last longer than drawings mostly. I mean, if you look at museums, there's far more paintings than drawings in them, so it's a lasting art form. So I love it. So I have other sorry, go ahead. I didn't see any comments, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have other things. Like, I ended up doing a cross stitch. Well, I'll show you in a second. I think you've probably seen it, but I took a picture of this palm tree just one day at this angle, and it was just fun. And I need to get a different frame for it, but it was just the frame I put it in, so I kind of liked it. It's kind of vibrant, fun. So I drew the palm tree, and I kept this one the whole time, actually. I actually had it at work because they did a display of crafts, and it was at my work until like 2020, and I brought it home. And because they did a display of crafts, and then I just kept it on my desk at work, but it turned it into a cross stitch of a palm tree. You've probably seen it on my page before.
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time on this. Like, it took a long time to do that. Like, that might seem like, how could that take a long time? But it kind of did, actually.
No. I remember that. And you have a video of that on your channel, don't you, of the cross-stitching process?
Yeah. And people actually like that sort of thing, and they asked me to do more of that. And I have thought about it. It's not that I don't want to, but they would ask me, they'd be like, well, why can't you zoom in, like, right there? And you have to understand, like, the camera that I had at the time wasn't that kind of camera. And so it's not that I didn't want to do that kind of video. It's just they kept asking me to do things with the camera that it wouldn't really do. So I think they liked the video to some degree, but it's like they wanted me to zoom in and show something. And you can, but there's channels that do that. Like, there are cross-stitch channels where they specialize in that. Whereas I'm just kind of like, I feel like I sample a lot of things in the art world. Like, that. Yeah. I'm like, I want to do this, and then I want to do that. And I do still want to cross-stitch. I actually have a really big cross-stitch. It's somewhere in my thing, but I also did some really vibrant color. You've probably seen this one. It's a sunset, right?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this one was, it's Mount Baldy again. It's actually the front side of it. I've done the mountain paintings that are the back side of it. And it's based on trees nearby, but I didn't like the buildings, so I just deleted them from the drawing. And I drew the mountain and the trees instead.
Nice. So you have the landscape that you want rather than the one that's there.
Nice. Yeah, because I'm just like, some people really like the urban landscapes and they want to paint a cityscape, but I never really understood because I don't really like skyscrapers, and I'm not like in awe. Like, some people love to go to cities and just like look at the skyscrapers, and I just think they're kind of ugly. I don't know.
I understand. I'm not really a skyscraper kind of gal myself.
Yeah, we don't even have any. Well, we're starting to get some in our city because they decided that we're going to become LA. But before, like, supposedly there was this ordinance that you couldn't build them, but all of a sudden, like, it doesn't apply anymore. And now, like, there's all these warehouses, and they're building like some high parking structure, and the construction is really bad. You've seen this one, right, of the giraffe?
Oh yeah. It's a zebra. It's a zebra.
But yeah, why am I calling him a giraffe? He's a zebra. I'm sorry. Like,
it's beautiful though.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a giraffe, but I don't know why I call him a giraffe. He is definitely a zebra.
Okay. I knew that you knew it was a zebra, but I just
No, but
thought
I don't know why I said that. Like, that's kind of silly. Like, I'm like, what do you do? Okay, so here's another one. I definitely need to get a different frame for it, but I think what it was at the time I just was trying to find ways to display colored pencil. So this one's too big. I actually think I'm going to put a bigger drawing in here, and it's just a Hawaiian landscape. It kind of faded. It's one of those Prismacolor ones that faded a little bit. But in a way, it kind of works because I think the ocean looks a little bit softer than when I first did it. So I made that one in 2011.
I love the water. And what's that inside? Is it underneath the water that we're seeing?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a wave. So I was trying to replicate what I saw in the photograph to the best of my ability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to create a wave, like I suppose, like it was experimental, and this was supposed to be Diamond Head. And there's a few buildings in the background, but once again, I just kind of threw them in there. But there is a building on Waikiki Beach that's pink. So I just kind of got experimental. I said, what if I made the skyscrapers pink along with the palm trees? But, and I made, it's kind of exaggerated because I don't think palm trees are as tall as the size skyscrapers, but I was just kind of having fun with that one.
Yeah, that's okay. It's good to have fun.
Yeah, like that one, I mean, some of the things I've done are not always like super serious. So I have more things. Like I have one, like I had an acorn because, okay, my mom always said we should harvest acorns because we did it when I was a kid and we made the acorn meal and it worked out beautifully. Like, I don't know what she did differently, but I had the worst luck. Like when we gathered acorns that time and I did it, they were filled with worms, which I'm sure the serranos ate the worms and it's probably a good source of protein, but they don't taste.
It's a good source of fat too.
I know, but they don't taste good. And I ate some of it and it was nasty. I'm sorry if you can stomach it, it's probably great nutrition, but and they were half of them were rancid. So I just gave up and and what I had left, it was so hard. Like I kept rinsing it and boiling it and it still had that tannic acid taste to it. It was just so bitter. So I was like, I gave up on it. I thought I did it right. But I just decided, boy, I admire the serranos for gathering acorns like that. But I don't think I want to do that.
I'm sure.
But that's my whole story about behind the acorn. So there's an acorn and I just drew it, an acorn.
I think you posted that on Historia Obscura, didn't you?
Yeah, I probably did. I did post quite a few things because when Examiner was being deleted, I took some of the stuff off Examiner and put it on Historia or Pub Wages. I think I put it. Yeah, that one I did put on Historia Obscura because we were talking about the Serranos. But there were also some of the art things from Examiner that I put on Pub Wages, but I wasn't fast enough. And they ended up deleting the site before I could take everything off. Oh. They gave us like a month or something. They're like, well, we're deleting the site in 1 month. You better hurry.
Why did they delete it?
Well, because, with the Google Panda, they got punished and they were a somewhat big media group. But what had happened was at first, like having that was the thing, like eHow. That's why eHow went public and all these little entities. Well, they weren't super big, but they were big enough media that paying people or getting people to write like short stories or blogs or like a little bit of that was so newsworthy and you could actually make some good money. At first I was doing good with it, Examiner. I actually was making $50 here and there for like you would get a referral link like if somebody would join, and I was doing pretty good. I was making money here and there, and then all of a sudden I wasn't making much anymore. And then they started getting stricter, saying we needed all these like guidelines if we were going to write like they were saying that I was going to have to be a local examiner and I couldn't just share my art and craft ideas anymore. I'd have to go interview and like local art shops, and I'd only make $5 an article. And I said, that's ridiculous. Like, who's going to do that? And the manager of the content was like, well, there's lots of people here. They would. And I said, well, I don't want to. So I got moved over to being a national examiner where I could just write about the arts and crafts. But even then, like, like we weren't making anything anymore. It just was nothing. And then soon, like they just closed the site because they had no success. I think Google hurt them, like with the Panda updates. Like at first they were doing good. It's kind of like a bigger version of Bubble Ooze or something like that. And then they got hurt. So that's what happened. That's why they deleted
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I think really we started out with an open web that, World Wide Web, and there was so much possibility, and people could suddenly, even if you weren't famous and you didn't have a journalism degree, you could write, for a newspaper.
Yeah, you could. You definitely could. Like a local paper, you definitely could. But that's kind of changed. Like even the local papers now, they've been brought out, maybe not by a national media group, but one example is our local paper's not even good anymore because it's just a cookie cutter copy of the one in San Bernardino and the one in Riverside, because they're all owned by the same media group, but they'll have like one local story. And I'm like, well, you could just read one of those 3 papers and you're reading the same thing. So
Yeah.
It's sad what happened. And they, of course, are playing to national media too. Like they got bought out to some degree but yeah, it's like you can't anymore because the big media corporations took everything over, like the internet, basically.
Yeah. And Google helped them do it with things like the Panda update.
Yeah. Well, Google sold out because I think in the beginning of its inception, I don't think when they were college students making the search engine that was their intent. But there were like politicians who said they didn't like the internet was the Wild West and people could post whatever they wanted, even though there was a lot of good content on there. They didn't like the bad stuff. So like their rationale was that they needed to penalize it and just make it where big. I mean, they were saying this back in 2009. They were saying that they just wanted the big media corporations to control the internet. And people were so upset about it back then, like net neutrality and all that. But then they went ahead and did it anyway. And now everybody just kind of signed off on it. They're like, well, that's just how it is. And it's sad, but it's like people just accepted it and they don't miss what the internet used to be.
Right. But does it strike you that maybe China has something to do with all this?
Of course they do. I mean, think about it. Like I've tried to think recently, why do we have so many warehouses? Why do we need to have so many warehouses? Because what is being shipped from the warehouses that they're selling here that is just driving like this industrialization of our area? Like I don't think we needed to become like a mini metropolis or like a suburb of LA. But like they just were pushing that. Like at first, like everybody's like, no, we don't want to do that. But now it just happened anyway. Like what they said that they didn't want to do just happened. And I don't know how that happens. It happens because that's where the money is. And they can import stuff cheaply from China. And China, of course, is making a big profit, They control everything really. And anybody who thinks that they don't is kind of blind. I mean, once again, like I don't follow everything going on in Yemi's channel, but she does have a point that, she can't, like, why is she living in America where she came to be free and now she can't post things or her videos demonetized? And people keep saying in her comments, well, corporations can do that. They have the control of the internet. But why is that? It didn't always used to be that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think there are foreign investors that are controlling the American corporations.
Mm-hmm. They do. Well, Vanguard, we know, and many others. I mean, it's open knowledge that they do that. But our friends said that Vanguard wasn't a big deal and it was innocuous, so they seem okay with it.
They think it's a great place to invest.
Just because something seems great doesn't mean it is, because it hurt all the small businesses. That's what bothers me about it. Like when they were starting this change was there were these like small little businesses like chili pepper growers, like this guy in New Mexico. He had a world market for his product. And he pointed out very rightly, well, the minute you start letting the corporations control the internet, I'm not going to be able to just get all that organic search engine traffic anymore. And that's going to hurt my business. And I bet you too, because these big businesses wanted to take over what he was doing and just sell it. And they've done that on Etsy too, Aya. Like, even though people think Etsy is all like, people just making stuff, it's not all people just making stuff, right?
I know.
Like actually a lot of Chinese corporations, like they pay people to look like they're painting something and they try to make a channel or like just the, I guess you call it a channel on its a seller account look like it's an individual person and they try to pass it off as somebody living in the United States, but it's really made in a factory in China.
Wow.
And it's shipped by Alibaba.
Well, you know what happened to the owner of Alibaba, Joey?
I know it's not good. That's not, but they had a hostile takeover in Alibaba, and now people are still making money within the corporation. They just wanted to oust him because he said something that a leader didn't like. He was not playing by their rules, so they ousted him. So there's still people making money in that corporation. They just got rid of him.
I know, but did you hear that they are having power outages in China?
I did, but they're kind of forcing. Okay, what they're doing right now, from what I read, I haven't been deep into the conversation, but I heard that with the 100th anniversary of the Communist Party, they've decided they want to show that the Communist Party is about the common man and that they're all equal and that they're going to start having like power outages or they're going to like try and discourage like social upward mobility and they're going to do all these things because they treat everybody fairly in China. But we know that's not true. I mean, really?
I don't understand why power outages are supposed to be good. They're not good.
They're not, but they stifle creativity because if you have a power outage, then you could be an independent business, but you're at the mercy of the state-sponsored government, which let's be honest, a lot of business in China is owned by the government. They just pretend to be a private entity, I believe, like from what I was reading. Like if you're an individual, you can't really even own a business in China. You pretty much like subsidiaries of the PRC own businesses, and that's the truth about China, but nobody will acknowledge it, It's the truth. You have to be a member of the elite Communist Party in China to own a business. This is true. I mean, do you not disagree with me on that, or what do you think?
I don't disagree with you. I'm not sure I know everything, but
I'm not saying I know everything, but there's only like one publication right now that's kind of mildly criticizing the PRC, and they're very mildly doing it. It's The Economist. They're just very mildly doing it, but they did point out a couple of things. They said only 8% of the population belongs to the Communist Party in China. But if you pretty much, like they did point out in a subtle way, if you want to own a business or you want to be successful in the business world, especially from like, I guess like the last couple of years when they're trying to implement more Maoist policies once again. Like they said they opened their market, but now that they've become open and they're successful, they want to get back to their roots. That's the whole idea. They're saying if you're not a member of the Communist Party, that you're not going to be successful. So I feel like my real thoughts on, I'm not saying I know everything about what happened to the owner of Alibaba, but he didn't play along with the game. And he said something that was mildly criticizing people in charge and they didn't like that. So he had to disappear. That's what I think happened. It's just my take on it.
Something like that certainly did happen.
Because there's still people running that company and they're still making money. It's just not him. But anyway, I don't know, whatever. Everybody thinks it's great. They said it's innocuous and it's good. And Vanguard's a great thing to invest in. But didn't they write that creepy article about how the Kool-Aid's better? That's so creepy. And why is that creepy? Oh, because it has like a cult reference.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe like a mainstream company would say that and people didn't notice.
But did you hear that there, certain banks in China are now being foreclosed on or defaulting? Did you hear about that?
Weird. I didn't hear about that, but I would think with how China's economy is booming, how would a bank be foreclosed upon? Like, wouldn't they have so much revenue, liquid revenue? Like, how could that even happen unless you want that to happen?
I don't know. I don't really understand what's going on.
I'll tell
you the truth. I just don't know.
My thought is that they opened the economy so that they could succeed in the world market. And now that they're open, I think there's some people in charge who want to act virtuous about it. And they're like, well, we are actually good communists. And they want to rewrite the story and make it sound. And there's people that actually believe this now. Like there's some people that go to liberals channels who are not all like I hate to say it, but there's like a Maoist element to a lot of liberal politics these days. And if you're not completely pandering to that cause, like they'll say, well, everything's good in China and look at them. Like I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but no, it's not. And no, that's not true. And no, they don't, they can try to buy everybody, but they can't do that in a free society yet. They can try, but this is still a free society. So I don't have to pander to them, you know? My opinion. That's my opinion. Well, I'm not going to. And their human rights are bad. So no, I'm sorry. And now they're doing this thing where they want everybody to have a national ID card. So any of the people who escaped from North Korea would be deported back to North Korea.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I'll keep sharing art, but it's sad. It's not good. I think people they want to make money. And there's nothing wrong with making money, but they're not asking serious questions about where is the direction of the economy going. So sorry that I got lost on that topic, but I'm done. So I'll share some other things that I did do with like a picture frame. It's actually a pyrography. So I did like pyrography on a picture frame once. That was kind of cool. And it was just around the side. And this is my little niece when she was little. She actually looked older in the picture than she is. This was from like 2005. She was only 3, but she went with my nephew and they let her get her picture taken that day. So, but yeah, it turned out really nice. And I made this frame and I just thought it was fun.
So did you buy the frame or did you and then add the pyrography to it? Or
I added the pyrography. I'm saying I made the frame like I made it. No, I didn't make the frame. Okay. What I meant was I did the pyrography artwork on it where I drew the birds on the frame.
It's very good.
And I made them like 3-dimensional, so like it wraps around the frame. So I just thought that was kind of fun. I had a lot of fun with that one. I've done lots of different little kinds of projects over the years. And here's one that's kind of themed for Halloween or October. So yeah, I would sometimes just draw a picture of a pumpkin. And my mom had this really beautiful pumpkin that she grew one year. And I drew a picture of a pumpkin.
I like that.
Yeah, it was fun.
It has very warm colors. It's nice.
Yeah, it's Prisma once again. It faded a little, but this one surprisingly hasn't faded too much. So I think it could be the direct sunlight that was the problem in the past. I can look and see if we have any comments yet.
Okay.
How are you feeling? Like, are you feeling like you're kind of getting near where you want to sign it or you're finished? Oh, you did sign it. Maybe.
No, I didn't sign it, but this is where it is right now.
It's looking really good. I like it.
Yeah, what I did was I sprayed it with varnish, and I think I will revisit it a little bit later and see what needs to be corrected.
That's a great idea. I like it. Very cool. Let me just see if we have any comments going. I haven't seen any comments yet so far. So, but you know, did you want to end at this point or keep, like, what's your thoughts?
Well, do you have a lot more things that you would like to share? Or?
I don't really have to right now. I was kind of just sharing because you were painting and I was talking, since I have a little bit of painting to do, but to be honest with you, I didn't really get started on that one again. So I've shared plenty, I think, for now. Like, I just was kind of having fun talking and sharing it because that's the theme of our video. Yeah. But I shared a lot. I mean, I have made a lot of artwork, but maybe it's not as prolific as some people because I'm kind of a slower artist. I'm not fast. So I have enough. It's just maybe not as voluminous. And that was one thing my mom's like, why didn't you make more? I said, I don't know. That's what I made. This is what I made. So I'm happy with it.
For years, I would only paint if I had, I would only write a story if I had a story to tell. I would only write a poem if a poem came to me. And I would only ever paint if I had something that couldn't be said in a story or an article or a poem or a novel, then I would paint. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I do like to paint and draw. I'm kind of like, I take my time with it. So that's just why I'm not quite as prolific. However, I was starting to do more up until I stopped. I think if you stop, it's kind of hard to get started again.
Yeah, I guess that's true in almost everything. It's kind of like that.
Well, I'm not saying with writing. I think with writing, you definitely can. You can keep going, like, because you've been writing in some shape and form all the time. Like, even if you're not writing your books, you wrote, your blog, or you wrote on pub wages, and you've kept it up. So that, I think, is a little, I mean, I'm not saying like you're writing a novel every year, but I just feel like with me, with painting and drawing, I kind of had to be in the mood to do it. And I'll be honest with you, um, for a while when I was just like substitute teaching or working part-time, I had a little bit more time at that time. So I just felt more productive. Like I wanted to cook more and I wanted to do art more. And I felt like because I had that time, it was just easier at those times, like for me to feel inspired. Whereas like the more I work, it's not that I don't want to do these things. I just don't, like, you get to the end of the day, you're like, oh, like I guess that's just my feelings on it.
Well, yeah, sometimes you get just exhausted by whatever it is you are doing. I
Yeah.
understand that.
But I think you have to make time for it anyway. Like some people, they do, I don't know, they like do volunteer and they paint. But I personally, I'm an introvert. So I can't, like, I actually really need to rest. Like if I've been out for many, many days, like just working, like I need like a day where I'm just not out around people, and then to get recentered to where I feel like I want to do something. But that's just kind of my energy. Whereas I know some people are extroverted and they like to go out. So anyway, but that's just my thoughts on art. I am trying to do more. I'm doing it in my own way and on my own timetable, so to speak.
Yeah, that's fine. It's perfectly understandable. And in a way, right now that I made a sort of commitment a couple of years ago to paint more often.
I love it though. I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, my skill is better, but I think my paintings were maybe more passionate when I would only paint when it was just flowing out of me. Do you know what I'm saying?
I I mean, I guess so, but they still seem passionate to me. I mean, you're still painting things that you love. I haven't felt like anything was less passionate, like content wise. I just thought like your skills had really improved over time. And that was what I thought was really cool, to see somebody painting as much as you do, and to see like how you've had a big leap in skills and people have noticed. And I thought that was pretty admirable. I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
Well, thank you. Thanks. I do think I've gotten better. Um, and I do enjoy doing it. Obviously it makes me feel good. I wouldn't do it if it didn't, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And another thing too, though, I do think I do see like you will want to, like what you're looking towards is to paint people. And I think that would be really cool. Like if somebody wanted to be painted, like they could maybe talk to you about it and you could do a portrait of them or something.
Yeah, I would love to do portraits. But the problem with portraits is, it's such an ego thing. Nobody wants a bad portrait of themselves, and so a lot of people, even if they recognize that I did paint them and it's recognizable that it's them, it's not somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if it's not flattering, they don't want that. So it's a very tall order to make a portrait that will please the customer.
Well, I say that we will continue to look for people that would be interested, and you will continue painting. And I think there are people out there that would be interested. So, you know,
Definitely. So hopefully you get all of your projects done this weekend that you wanted to, and maybe we can paint together again next week, maybe
yeah,
next Sunday.
that would be fun. So I guess we'll see each other then.
Okay, and have a very nice rest of the day, Julia.
You too. Bye.
Bye.